Hey, good morning. It's just after the 4th of July 2021 in Seneca, South Carolina. I want to make a brief video about the changes I've made to this bike. It's a 2001 Softail Springer, and when I bought it, it only had 10,000 miles on it. These bikes were initially made, or pretty much all made, by Harley to capture the image of Easy Rider. Big front wheels, 21-inch front wheels, fat rear wheels, 16-inch rims, and a big rake on the front that is about 33 degrees. Normally motorcycles have a rake of 23 at the extreme racing motorcycle end to about 28, and are designed that way so they handle well. When you start to spread out the rake, the wheel makes handling, especially at low speeds, very difficult. Actually, only an expert rider should ride these bikes as they come from Harley. The bike tends to want to fall over because the wheel is being moved up to its edge, right, as opposed to being on its nose. So when you turn the wheel like this, right, you're steering the bike. But as further out you go with that front rake, the bike is sitting on this part of the wheel and it's very unstable. So I consider that to be not only a problem in terms of riding it from a comfort point of view, but also from a safety point of view. My intent in modifying the bike was to make it look like a real motorcycle without the ape hangers, bring the bars down to where a normal bike has them, and to get rid of that big rake in the front wheel. So I made a number of modifications, starting with wheels, well actually starting with the handlebars, and improving the looks of the bike by taking the shorty duals off of it and putting on these Vance & Hines big shots. That made it look a lot better. I cleaned up a lot of the Harley stuff, got rid of the bulbous turn signals and replaced them with small ones, hid the wires, the wiring, electrical wiring inside the handlebar, stuff like that to make it really look nice. But the problem still was that the rake was wrong. So I decided to fix the rake by changing the rims. And the nice thing about having spoked wheels is you can change the size of the rims independently of the hub. It's not that hard. It's a little expensive, but in the end you can tune your bike exactly how you like it without having to chop it up. So I put 18-inch wheels on both ends. That lowered the front considerably, and then I decided I still needed the back higher so that I'd have more ground clearance and I'd have better handling by bringing the back of the bike up. Now normally Harley owners buy a kit to lower the back even further, increase the rake even more, and make the bike more unstable and more unsafe. This bike really should be, all motorcycles are designed so that the bottom of the frame should run parallel to the earth. It shouldn't be tilted up, shouldn't be tilted down. It should be parallel, because that's how they build the motorcycles. It's all the measurements and degrees of rake and trail and all that kind of stuff are designed by the engineers with the bottom of the bike parallel to the earth. And you couldn't do that normally with this swing arm. The swing arm is designed to be fixed in terms of how high it sits the back end. So I figured out that if I modified that swing arm, I could raise the back end about an inch and a half, and that would give me exactly a parallel frame and the rake that I want. The conclusion of all of that modification is that the bike handles beautifully. Curvy roads, mountain roads, it stops better with the bigger tires, more rubber on the ground. It goes better, it just handles perfectly. And I love this bike the way it's set up right now. I really do. It's comfortable. Melinda and I can go 2 up on it. It doesn't even know she's there. And she's in the back here, comfortable against the big sissy bar. This bike I would take across the country now, easily. It's just so comfortable. So that's the story. And we're going to go into some slides and narration on point by point what I did to bring the bike to this state of perfection. And thanks for watching. Here we go.
So here she is, as she was at the Harley dealership. She is pretty much in stock form except for all the chrome. She's got ape hangers and just about every piece of chrome that was available in the Harley catalog along the way. The handlebars I don't like. I don't feel they're safe and they're not comfortable for me. As the wind comes up, you get pushed back, you call on the brakes, you get thrown through the middle of them. It's just not a safe feature. You can see the front wheel is 21 inch and a very skinny tire. The rim is special too, and I just don't know how well it would grip under side forces. And that skinny tire just cannot perform as well as a regular size tire when you're on heavy braking or when you're leaning over. So it didn't like that. Also, you can see the 16-inch back wheel with the super fat tire. They weighed one of these at one point with a size 200 tire on the back, which was really old-fashioned. And I think it's an aftermarket seat. It was very comfortable, but it didn't give me enough lower back support. The bike only had 10,000 miles on it, and it was okay. I mean, it was okay, but I knew that I was going to change it when I bought it. It also had this snorkel, I call a snorkel, air cleaner on it, which got in the way of your leg and is also ugly. And also, it shouldn't have been mounted on this bike because the way it's mounted, it plugs up the breather holes for the crankcase, so that motor can't breathe. So it had to can't come off. The handlebars had all the wires external to them, so they were cluttery. It had the big bulbous Harley turn signals. It had ugly metal handlebar grips. The mirrors were not really stylish. I didn't like it at all. So that was one of the first things that had to go. And we'll talk about that a little later. And you can see the chrome thing was carried to the back. So we had a chrome swing arm, a chrome belt guard, a chrome lower belt guard, more of the style of metal foot pegs, the same as the handlebars, and a Pennsylvania tag, inspection tag on it. And the guy, one of the things that the guy said was interesting is that they have an annual inspection in Pennsylvania. So even though it only had 10,000 miles on it, it's still a 20-year-old bike. So it got inspected regularly. And he said that that's a good thing, that nothing hidden on this bike. And you can see here, again, the metal foot pegs carried over to the shifter and a footrest, a heel rest thing. I've never seen that before, but there it is. And I guess that's because those metal footrests are so slippery, you needed a rest for your heel to keep your foot properly on the pegs. And then finally, the left side view, it's chromed out, to a point where I thought it was excessive. So here she is after the first round of changes. You can see the new exhaust system. Those are the Vance & Hines Big Shots. I like them. I had them on my 2007 version of this bike back in 2009. So it was only a couple of years old. And I loved that bike. I really did, but I didn't have the focus to deal with its shortcomings. Except I did put on the beach bars. So the beach bars the Harley beach bars require 1.25 inch risers, because the bars are 1.25 inch diameter. And those can't be found these days. So neither the bars nor the risers. So I found a set of Hollywood bars, they're called, and put those on. They're pretty much beach bars, but with a crossbar on them. I'll show you a little later, which lowered them down to where they're in comfortable reach. And we ran the wires inside the bars and got rid of the turn signals, put them down in the front, on the front forks, and on the back, just below the tailbag. Got rid of the bulbous Harley standard factory stuff. So it's starting to look better. It still has the big 21-inch wheel in the front and the 16 inch wheel in the back. And it still was a handful to ride, especially two up slowly. And then here's what she looks like from the left-hand side. You can see the beach bars a little better. I put on nicer rear view mirrors. I bought the Harley round tail bag, and I put on a 24-inch sissy bar so that Melinda could lean back on that. I found the sissy bar and the mounting plates on eBay, and they were fairly easy to find. So it looks a little bit Easy Rider-ish with those on it, but it looks much better. It's getting there. Still handles terribly. And here's what it looks like with me on it up in, I guess those are South Carolina foothills overlooking one of the lakes on a ride we took. Very nice bike. It's starting to look very nice. So here she is at stage 3. And in this stage, I addressed the handling problem. For those of you who are tuned to looking at motorcycles, you'll immediately see that there is a big change in this. This is the motorcycle with 18-inch front wheel and an 18-inch back wheel. It's lowered the front end about an inch, maybe an inch and a half, so that took a lot of rake out of it and trail out of it. And the back change was made so I could utilize a modern lower profile tire that would give me better grip in the corners and also be a better compound overall. Just better ride, rounder profile, and all that. The back is a 150, the front is a 110, and that did a lot to remove the handling issues. But if you'll also notice, the back swing arm is now black, and that's because I bought a spare swing arm to do an experiment with. This swing arm has been modified. The area where the swing arm attaches to the shocks, which are underneath the motor, has been shortened, so that shortening that part of that swing arm lowers the point where the axle goes through the back wheel and thus raises the bike. So if you look at this closely, this bike is sitting parallel to the earth. It's also, by raising the back end, I've increased the ground clearance so it can corner further, it can lean over further. It can lean over much safer because it has nice new modern compound, larger tires. And raising the back also reduced the rake even more. So as we went through this process, which took a fair amount of time, I had to get new rims for the back and the front and do all the lacing of the new rims to the old wheels. And the result was well worth it. As you can see by this insert, there's the difference. One's leaning back still with a big front end, tiny tire, fat tire in the back, very fat, deep tire, so that it can't really handle cornering very well. Here it is from the other side. You can see a lot more air through the back because of the 18-inch rim on it. It looks like it's raring to go. And another view. So that's where she is today. And she rides beautifully. She's outstanding. It's the way Harley should have actually made this bike. Made it to both look good and actually handle well, brake well, and all that good stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed this little overview of the changes I made to change the motorcycle from looking like this to one that looks like this. Thanks for watching.